specifically regarding precision ag. This is a movement or an initiative that Pheasants and Quail Forever is taking on where we can help farmers take advantage of the data they collect and during harvest, during planting season, and use that to identify areas in the field that are underproducing. For whatever reason, we're losing money on those acres. So Are there some alternate wildlife covers that we can use and put on the ground that benefit wildlife but also benefit the bottom line? There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of conservation programs and conservation practices out there that can benefit the land. Some people might be familiar with the Conservation Reserve Program, or CRP. And that is a program for farmers and landowners to take those certain areas out of production and return them to a wildlife cover.
We started taking non-productive acres years ago and putting them in CRP, seeing a great benefit of that, not only for wildlife, erosion control, and the money side of it. We have to make a living to stay in business just like everybody else. If you've got non-productive acres that you're losing money on and you can get something out of them, plus benefit the soil from erosion, plus benefit the wildlife.
The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're on the farm. Emily's going to help me co-host today. Emily Buck, our Director of Communications and Outreach. Glad she's here with us today, but we're in kind of in an area you're familiar with, right?
Yeah, before I came to TWA, agriculture was my bread and butter. So for our folks listening, we've got a great view of some rolling green hills, some cows off to our side, and we're really excited to be on the farm today.
Yeah, I am too. Today is all about precision ag, and we're going to be talking with folks from Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, about how you can turn red acres to green acres. And we're going to learn about all of that and what that is, and I'm excited to have Jacob Taylor with us today. He works for Quail Forever, and then Jeremy Fowler has graciously let us come on to his farm, interrupt his farming time. He's got to get back out to the tractor, so we better speed this along today, but we appreciate you guys having us.
Absolutely excited to be here.
And happy birthday. I know this show will air later, but happy birthday.
Thank you.
He says he doesn't stop working. He has to keep working on his birthday. Part of it, I guess, right?
Another day.
Yeah. Well, today I've touched on it. It's all about precision ag and the technology behind agriculture and ways that you can improve your property for wildlife when there's not so much profitable acres on those
Exactly.
edges and things like that. So today we're going to dive into some of that. But first, I want to learn about you guys. So Jacob, we'll start with you, buddy. Tell us about yourself and what your role is and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yep. Well, I grew up in a farming family and community kind of down the road from here in Trenton, Tennessee. And I graduated a couple years ago and was hired on by Pheasants and Quail Forever as a precision ag specialist, which when you talk about Pheasants and Quail Forever, that's probably not the first thing that you think about. But as an organization, there's a whole conservation delivery team. It's very diverse and numerous, everywhere from farm bill biologists to precision ag specialists. We got people working in rangeland and grazing. So there's a lot of people working on the ground for Pheasants and Quail Forever. But specifically regarding precision ag, this is a movement or an initiative that Pheasants and Quail Forever is taking on where we can help farmers take advantage of the data they collect and during harvest, during planting season, and use that to identify areas in the field that are underproducing for whatever reason. Maybe it's shade, water, there's perennial wet spots, odd areas that are just hard to farm. Farm equipment's getting big now, and it's hard to farm some of these smaller areas. And so these areas that the yield isn't high enough to exceed the input costs, we're losing money on those acres. So Are there some alternate land use covers, wildlife covers that we can use and put on the ground that benefit wildlife but also benefit the bottom line?
Okay, awesome. All right, well, we'll dig more into that as we get going. Jeremy, thank you for having us. Tell us a little about yourself. You're a lifetime farmer, right?
Yes, sir. Row crop producer here in West Tennessee, Atwood, Tennessee. Born and raised like 2 miles down the road here. Been farming since '97. We raise corn, wheat, soybeans, cattle, and kids. So that's the main thing. I've got 2 teenagers, a wife named Brittany. She works in the local school system. We tied up with Jacob. We was doing a lot of this stuff before he came along, but he kind of brought a new level to it, I guess you should say. It introduced me to some new programs and different things, and we're conservation minded. We hunt and believe in putting back, and have a place for wildlife to thrive, plus us to thrive. So it's kind of a balance, and it's been good for us.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And before the show, we were chatting. Your son plays football, and
Yes.
and I'm sure is he doing well this season?
He is. He's had a great season. My daughter's a cheerleader. My son plays football,
Awesome.
and we're busy people.
I bet.
Very
I
busy.
bet.
This time of year, very busy.
Yeah. Well, farming's a full-time job, especially folks like you that do it this way. I got a lot of hobby farmers and stuff out there, but it's a lifelong passion and
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a way of life. It's you have to live it and love it to do it. So
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and farmers are really the original stewards of the land and of the earth. And when you think about those kids, I
Correct.
bet you're hoping one day they come back and keep farming.
We
and
are.
sustainability lets you do that.
we are. Don't push them either way. Tell them all the time. Do whatever you want to do. We'll support you. But
Yeah.
at the same time, really. Really hoping maybe one day they'll come back. My daughter's really plugged in right now. She's a junior in high school.
Yeah.
She's wanting to get ag business degree and do something in agriculture, which we're really excited about. So we'll see what happens.
Sure.
Just-
Yeah.
But just blessed to get to raise kids in a place like this. On the farm is just a different experience. We have kids come out here all the time and ask us questions that we don't know how to answer because we take for granted what we do every day. We really do.
Yeah.
So-
Definitely. That's awesome. Yeah, and there's a lot of great colleges here in Tennessee that focus on wildlife and agriculture, and those two go hand in hand a lot of times. So
Correct.
very cool. All right, well, let's jump in more on how folks can turn red to green here. And you touched on it a little bit there, Jacob, but just dive in a little bit more on how this program works and how a farmer can work with you.
Right. So the topic of this is precision ag, and maybe not a lot of viewers understand maybe what precision ag is. You have to really be on the farm, and a lot of farmers are using that now, but everybody sees the big combines going through the field during the fall, right, or the cotton pickers. Well, as those machines are going through the field, every 1 second they collect a data point. All right, and that data point is collecting how much crop is coming through the combine, whether that's cotton or corn or wheat or soybeans, how much is flowing through the combine. The moisture of that crop, the speed of the combine, the elevation of the land that the combine is passing across. So think about thousands of acres, every data point every 1 second, right? That's a lot of data, right? So how can we use that data and maximize every single acre? And a lot of farms, like we see out here today, when we're harvesting through these fields and we have all this yield data, we know where we're producing high and low in the fields.
Yeah,
And oftentimes farmers know where those areas are, right? You know where you're losing money.
Right.
That yield data helps us identify where we're losing a lot of money, where it makes sense to make a land use change or to take an area out of production and return it to a cover. So that is what, when we're talking about precision ag, turning red acres green, if you take this yield data, you can make a color map, a heat map. It looks like a temperature map, right?
Right.
The red areas are what we call red acres. We're not producing enough to actually produce a really good positive return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
So we take that data, those heat maps, and look at several years of them. And we can understand that we're losing money on these certain acres. Well, then what's the solution? Like what options are out there? What can we do with these areas? Do we need to keep farming it? Some landowners want you to keep farming every acre. Sometimes we got to farm it just to be able to farm the good part of the farm, right? Mm-hmm. So you take the good with the bad. But there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of conservation programs and conservation practices out there that can benefit the land, and that require management. And so some people might be familiar with the Conservation Reserve Program, or CRP.
Yeah.
And that is a program administered by USDA for farmers and landowners to take those certain areas out of production and return them to a wildlife cover beneficial to different wildlife. And often one that we implement around here, and Jeremy himself has implemented, is our buffer strips, native grasses and wildflowers that are beneficial for wildlife like quail, turkey, quail, turkey, pollinators. A suite of different wildlife use those areas, and those are most time the areas we don't have on the farm, right? We've got trees, we got open crop ground, but we're missing some of that in between. Mm-hmm. And so the Conservation Reserve Program, there's a whole bunch of different USDA programs out there. I know TWA offers a Farm Wildlife Enhancement Program.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of different programs, and that's what, as specialists like myself, it's my job to understand the precision ag technology and to understand those programs and where they might fit on the farm and where they're appropriate.
It's all new to me, and probably not to Emily, but we were chatting the other day in the office, and I was like, so we're going to focus on this in the show and talk about the practices they're doing and the technology you mentioned. I never thought about that because I think of a farmer out there on a simple little tractor farming, but it's more than that. I mean, you say you're a simple guy, but the technology that's in your tractor that's counting those, what it's picking up and every data point per acre or per foot probably, that's pretty cool.
It changes as much in the next 20 as it has in the last 20 years. I won't even go to the field. We'll do everything with a computer and drones. I mean, it's just really advanced, and in good ways, but some of us, my generation, have to go back and learn some of this stuff. We wasn't born with computers and didn't come up with that.
Yeah.
We took typewriting in high school. We didn't even have computer class,
Exactly.
But we've had to go back and learn some of that. And I've got some guys that work for me are younger. They catch on really quick, and they're teaching me some of this stuff. So, and people like Jacob and different ones, we're having to learn, but it's user friendly. It's been really good at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned earlier in the show that you've put these practices in place even before you met Jacob. So that was you were already thinking that way, right?
We've been passionate about conservation and wildlife. Brought up that way, and we are in West Tennessee. We have fence rows, rolling hills. We're not vast land. We have 50-acre fields and 10-acre fields and all kind of different stuff. But we started taking non-productive acres years ago and putting them in the Conscious Reserve Program, CRP, and seeing a great benefit of that, not only for wildlife, but erosion control and the money side of it. We have to make a living to stay in business just like everybody else. If you've got non-productive acres that you're losing money on, and you can get something out of them, plus benefit the soil from erosion, plus benefit the wildlife. Take example of a farm we was on yesterday harvesting beans. I just noticed I've got 36 landlords plus I own land, so I'm in constant communication with a lot of people, and I've had landlords buy into some of this stuff. They've seen what I've done, and they've bought into some of this stuff. And with Jacob's precision stuff, hey, I can take these yield maps to them and say, hey, we're losing money right here. These landlords are on a share or whatever, and that makes a good bargaining point for them. Hey, we can benefit the wildlife, we can put money in your pocket, we can actually, and a lot of times they can make more money that way in some kind of buffer program or CRP than they can with me farming it and save the soil and the wildlife. But back to my original, we was on a farm yesterday, landowner, took me a long time to convince him. Front half of his farm was not productive. The back half was great. Took me years. 3 years ago, I convinced him. We put the front half in CRP, we still farm the back half, so we have to drive through the CRP. All right, I seen quail, turkeys, and deer yesterday just driving the combine across the CRP. And he come out and he said, man, this is the greatest thing we ever done on my farm. So, I mean, it's really benefiting everybody.
That's awesome.
So it's benefiting me and the landowners. And like I said, erosion's a big thing. We're rolling, big time rolling. These strips and the CRP, it's saving the dirt. It's been a win-win for everybody, and we're passionate about it. We're wildlife people. We like to hunt and like to see wildlife while we're out working, but it really does you good when you see something like I did yesterday. I was thinking about this coming up today and what we was going to talk about, and I said, right there it is. It's just simple. It's right here's what we're trying to do. We're supposed to be stewards, as you said a while ago, of the land. So it's ever evolving, and there's numerous programs, as he said. He's introduced me to some new ones here in the last couple of years. It's been really good. We're sitting here looking out over my home farm, and we put in some prairie strips last year, and we're seeing a huge benefit already for those. We can sit here and hear quail whistling in the morning a lot of times. And it's just something that's been gone from this area for a long time. So.
I think one of the things that is often kind of tricky sometimes to visualize when it comes to the benefits of conservation, when you're thinking about that bottom line, it's not always an immediate payoff. A lot of times that conservation will pay off as far as yields on a farm, but it does take a while. Talk a little bit about just that patience it takes to see some of that conservation pay off.
We're not in a get-rich annually scheme. We're in a lifetime, we're in a lifetime trying to make a living. If you're successful enough or blessed enough to farm your whole life, have something at the end, and leave something like you said there. It's long-term mindset. It's a mindset. It's long-term. You're not going to see benefits in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You start seeing some stuff, and it gradually goes up. But you have to really care about the farm. You have to really care about what you're going to leave behind, what you're doing. Sustainability is a big word these days, and in agriculture, everybody wants to be sustainable, and there's several different ways you could talk about that, but that's how we're being sustainable. We're leaving our dirt or our soil where it's at, and creating wildlife opportunities and different things. But it's the mindset. Like I said, it's not an overnight deal. It's time, which that's you have to have patience. So.
Well, quail is a big topic. People want to see quail come back, and it's obvious. In the last couple shows we've done, we've been like on Bridgestone, Firestone, and we hear the quail out there, and then you're talking about seeing the quail as you drive through the farm. It's awesome to see the work that y'all are putting in on these different areas happen. See the wildlife come back, and it's very cool. And I know it probably tickles you to death to see that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that if we can help farmers be more profitable, but if we can also get a lot of wildlife benefit and cover out there that's not very abundant, and we can really help quail in that way, it's what you call double benefit. It's when you go out on the farm and you see what you're doing and it's putting it on the ground and there's a wildlife response. I mean just helping people to be more profitable in the small way that we can. Because Jeremy's not got. A lot of these farmers are farming big thousands of acres. You ain't got time to sit down and look at every little piece. And you've done a really good job of that. Obviously, you've done this well before we ever came. But seeing that wildlife benefit on the ground, with helping someone be more profitable, it's a really cool thing to see.
And every farm's not the same. It's not a one fix all.
Right.
We're scattered over about a 30-mile circle from right here center.
Okay.
And every farm's different, every landowner's different. So you have to go in with a mindset of different aspects of how we can help this farm, what we can do. And every farm may not have a place for whole farm conservation. Maybe strips like we done here. Every farm's different. But anyway, it's a mindset we're passionate about and seeing benefits out of it in three different ways, from economic to wildlife, from erosion. So, we're benefiting.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned that mindset. A lot of times it can be pretty tricky to change a mindset that has been on a farm from multi-generations. And you mentioned cover for quail. And one of the things that we sometimes talk about is just not bush hogging as much, to leave some of that natural cover and letting some of those fence rows grow up, which can be really awful hard for a farmer to change their mindset on that one.
Well, generations before me and some of current generations think you need to farm fence row, and take the fence rows out if you can, and that's not the way. Not in my mind, and that may work for some people. It doesn't work for me. I want to be. When you go by and look at farm on equipment, when you're out there working, you're thinking, what are we really doing here?
Mm-hmm.
So there's room for everybody.
Yeah, well, the term we like to use is stop recreational bush hogging.
Yeah. We mow these strips in the CRP once a year. After nesting season, and we've got our schedule. Set schedule every year. We go on. We mow certain farms at a certain time and different things, and by this time of year they'll grow back up, so they have plenty of cover throughout the winter. So it's we usually do that starting late July, 1st August. When that's our slow time on the farm, so it works out good for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and
it's the manage. You have to manage them too. It's not just hey, put them out there and let them go. You have to ask them to manage it, because they'll have trees on them that's been around in 3 years and they'll be gone.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
exactly.
It's a farming practice basically. At the end of the day, it's part of what we do. So.
Yeah, it's used to be called the set aside program, but you're not setting aside. You've got to manage it. A lot of the practices that you've done and a lot of other farmers like yourself in West Tennessee, they're doing, it's not a silver bullet, right? No. And so when we talk about managing for quail and other wildlife, there's a lot of variables. Every farm is different. Every farm's got a different history, right? Maybe this farm used to be pasture and now it's cropped, or it's been cropped for 30 years, and that's where our wildlife biologists, I talked about our conservation team. Mm-hmm. We work with the USDA local service centers. We work with TWA wildlife biologists in West Tennessee, and I work with those folks. And they're on the ground with landowners and farmers like Jeremy, looking at farms, seeing what seed do we need to put out there, what might have been out there historically, what herbicide recommendations, what management is best, right? And so I'm not by any means a management expert. I'm just precision ag guy. Mm-hmm. But we've got our farm wildlife biologists. They've got the knowledge of, what management can we do, throwing in a mix of management, burning this year, mowing this year, maybe a farm that's not as highly erosive, doing some strip disking. There's a lot of different management techniques and seed mixes and that are appropriate for the practice that we're doing, and that's where we've got a lot of great partners and great biologists and employees within Quail Forever, USDA, and TWRA. They're all working together to do the same thing, right? And so it's help the people, help the land. So that's
I think that almost everyone would agree, conservation's a good thing, but realistically, there's always going to be some barriers to implementation on a farm, some challenges to overcome. What have you seen as you've met with folks? What have been some of the challenges that y'all have helped them kind of work through? And you're laughing, so I know you've had some challenges, must have.
Well, I mean, there is also a mindset for sort of a program like CRP, years ago when it was set aside and when it wasn't really managed at all, right? And so like Jeremy talked about, growing up in trees this thick, whenever the idea of putting some of these quail habitat and early successional plantings in place is you should be able to farm that again down the road, right? I mean, that's the type of habitat that back a long time ago when we were farming rotationally, these areas would grow up in grass for a couple of years and they're farmed again, and that was that habitat that we were missing, right? And managing that and not the mindset in some of these programs that we just need to let it go, right? But managing it as if you're producing a crop for wildlife, and that's one of the mindsets that maybe used to be common, but just understanding that management is, we're not doing as much management as you would do in crop per se, but we need to manage this every year and be on top of it, and that's a mindset that maybe some people have not overcome yet, but there's a lot of adoption in West Tennessee.
Yeah.
In my experience, you have to be, like I said, I've got 36 landlords currently scattered over a 30-mile circle, so deal with a lot of different types of people, some raised on a farm, some not. So that creates a challenge in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But transparency, we weren't. If you will show people and be transparent, they'll buy into what you're trying to, take them yield maps like Jacob's doing. I can take them my yield maps and, okay, this part of the farm right here is not productive. This is 3 years of history where it's not productive. We can't make it productive. We've done everything that we can do to try to make it row crop productive. Well, why don't we look at some conservation stuff to go on those acres? It will help the farm. It will put money in the landowner's pocket, and I don't have to farm it and lose money. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, that's what economics is, what's driving some of this. So,
definitely.
And some of it's receptive, some of it's not. But we've learned with dealing with multiple through the years, it takes a while sometimes, especially these older guys that, hey, we got to farm it. That's their mindset. We got to farm it, But we put some whole farms in the last 5 or 6 years because we went and showed them, hey, your neighbor's farm over here is making this, and we're making this consecutively. We've got 5 years worth of data right here. Why don't we put this in farm in CRP and help the wildlife? And that's a selling point with some people. Some people it's not. But we're benefiting the land at the end of the day. But it is like I said, but transparency has helped us a lot. Just people want you to be real. They don't want you to, if you take them documents in there and prove what you're trying to do, and get them hooked up with some of these programs, like you said. I help with that too. I don't just say, hey, good luck. I say, hey, we can contact, USDA, they've all kind of programs. Jacob's got all kind of programs. Let's see what's best for this farm. See what's best for your situation, and we've got all different kinds. So it's one size don't fit all. Yeah,
that technical assistance is so critical. No one expects anyone to be an expert overnight, and one of the benefit of so many of those USDA programs is they come with incentives to help you bridge the gap on that financial lift to implement some of these practices, including USDA EQIP, to help with some of those different infrastructure needs on a farm.
At the end of the day, it comes down to simple math, and what Jeremy is talking about is that the areas that are lower producing, if you've got an average yield on a farm and you've got very lower producing acres, they are dragging that average yield down, and so when you take them out, you're making actually more on less. Yes. And that's that simple math. And when it comes to the programs, that's where we can leverage those unproductive acres to get a payment, right? And so where you're losing money on these acres, you can actually be making them in a program, and that check is always going to come no matter the weather, right? you're going to get that same check, whether it's cost share and an incentive and all these programs. There's so many opportunities to get cost share, to get an incentive to retire these and manage them differently, not set them aside, but manage them differently, and leveraging those areas. What he's done a great job of. That's really where the bread and butter is with these programs.
We've had areas where conservation will pay the landowner more than I could pay them row cropping it, and that really is a great thing for the landowner, and me.
And they're realizing
I'm still helping them manage, and I'm still managing a lot of conservation for a lot of different people. Just because that we're not row cropping your farm anymore, don't mean I won't help you manage it. We do a lot of management we do all the people that I farm for. We do all their conservation management for them. Sometimes at no cost, sometimes at a little cost, but. Like I said, it's their guaranteed check. Like Jacob said, they're not worried about the weather, and if they got a low producing farm, it's like this, and it's a win-win for everybody. And I'm not an acre grabber. I want to work the best acres. That's my mindset. I want to work what's going to put money in my pocket and the landlord's pocket. I'm not a numbers guy. I want to row crop what's best to be row cropped for everybody. So,
Definitely. So, well, I think it's these incentives and. These guys are educated in this, and they have a passion for it, and they can come to your farm, write you a plan. There's a plan. There's the technology behind it that you can see this is going to work, and this is a way to, and as long as you got the equipment, I think it's great that, if you got the equipment, you're already doing it.
Right.
They can write you a plan and just make it happen fairly easy.
Right.
I mean, and
that helps a lot of landowners. A lot of landowners don't have equipment to do it, and that's where we come in.
Yeah.
To help them bridge that gap in between, how are we going to implement this? They'll come to me with their plan. Some scared to death, we don't know what to do. It's like, it's going to be okay. We've got support here. Like I said, we can call some people and see what we need to do. But anyway, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, and at TWRA, we also have private land biologists. You work closely with Chris out here in West Tennessee.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that partnership and how that really just expands the benefit of a lot of these.
Yeah. So, when I go to a farmer like Jeremy and other farmers that maybe they're not, and you've been working with USDA for a long time, but farmers that aren't, in doing a lot of conservation practices or in the programs that are interested, they want to hear quail again, or they want to manage for wildlife, but they also want to try to improve their bottom line. Just small acres here and there, not big acres. But when I help them identify some acres, and maybe they got some ideas of those areas, I work with somebody like Chris, wildlife biologist that. We can sit down and we can come up with a plan. Also, our quail biologists. I know that Jeremy's worked with some of our biologists, Alex Tamboli and Brittany Fires in the past as well. So all of those people that we're working with, we sit down and they can help me understand what's the best to do on this ground based on the landscape position, the site characteristics, the history. All that comes in, and all that's very important when it comes to habitat management. Right. So that team is growing. You put these two groups together, us and you guys, and it's amazing what can happen. Absolutely. I mean, we wear a different badge, but we're all doing the same thing. We all work together. We work together with Chris as if he's a QF employee, and everybody else likewise.
Well, if somebody wanted to find information on this, how do they find your contact if they're in West Tennessee?
Well, I mean, every USDA service center has my contact and our wildlife biologist. We have a Tennessee Quail Forever Facebook page. We also have a Quail Forever website, and you can go on there and find my contact and all of our staff on there as well.
Awesome. And if you want to find TWRA habitat biologist, you can find those at tnwildlife.org. They're on under the wildlife section there, and a lot of resources out there.
Absolutely, there's a lot out there.
Especially if you're a Jeremy and you want to implement some of this stuff, and guys like him.
And I'll throw in, it's easy. It's very accessible. If you're interested, you can find some you can find some USDA, Quail Forever. There's all kind of the information and access out there if you're interested. Get with some of those agencies and talk about it. So.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, and TWA is proud to manage public land, but the reality is the majority of the land in Tennessee is owned by private landowners, so we can't do it without y'all.
They're the movers and shakers.
Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely. Well, this has been fun. I've learned a lot. Thank you, Emily, for helping co-host. Thank you guys for having us here. And this is Tennessee Wildcast. Keep coming back. Keep watching. Keep listening. Subscribe, like, follow, and just appreciate you all tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.